In this video, we'll add the ability to view the stats when we go on a server for the first time. And we'll also add tabbing so that we can edit different modules that are separated in different files. This is quite similar to commands and is the foundation for the rest of the videos, where we allow guild editing, which is the main function of the dashboard. Let's get started. So we have our sidebar here. Now if we look at the sidebar, we're focusing a lot on the sidebar, but you'll see that not much is going on here, or when we click it nothing happens. So we're gonna fix that. Okay, how do we fix that? So our session manager we made, show.pug. When we click this, what happens? Not much. It adds this thing here. It adds a hashtag, which originates from here when we click that. Another thing before we start is, if you have any questions, you can always join this server. That's where you go if you need help. But let's get back to this. Okay, so we're gonna add hashtags. We're gonna add IDs so we can identify which elements were clicked when we click on these tabs. Obviously, we don't know what's going on when we click on them. It's just a random anchor tag. So let's add music. Cool. So now we've added all the IDs. Okay, so when we click on one of these tabs, right, we're gonna refresh. When we click on them, let's add something here in CSS first. So we're gonna go into, is it in here? Hold on. So modules, we have an anchor tag. We have tabs. So where is this being stored? Is there a CSS? Yes, there is. So there's a CSS. We're using sidebar.css. We're just gonna add cursor pointer here. Or better yet, we can go in utils and add a cursor pointer class. Broke it. So we're gonna add a dot cursor pointer. Cursor pointer. Important. Override everything else. Same with this. Why not? Okay, so now when we refresh, cursor pointer, we're going to add that. We're going to add it all the way to these. So what we can do is we can just hold Alt on Windows and click, and then cursor pointer utility class. Cool. Now they look like tabs, but they aren't quite tabs. So let's get rid of the hashtag. There we go. So when we click on them, nothing happens. So when we click them, we expect something to show up on the screen, right? Currently it is not. We're gonna remove this this thing here. It's this. So we include the navbar. We're gonna separate these files. What we're gonna import, the tabs. Each tab is gonna have a separate file allocated to it. So it's like nearly like a page. We're gonna emulate a page, but it's gonna have instant, I guess, instant clicking, instant navigation. Okay, general and music, let's do that. Okay, now we're going to create these files in views dashboard. We're going to create modules, and then a new file, overview.pug. These are pug files. You can copy this 6 times and rename them. General, auto mod, music, and economy. Very cool. So, still, when we click them, nothing happens. It's going to be very similar to how we tab with commands. So it shows and hides certain things. It's the same concept, I guess. So, what we're going to do is go into guild.js. We're going to create that in assets. Let's do that. Guild.js. Okay, now we're going to select the tabs. Also the sidebar extension. And then the H4. So it's this. We're selecting this and any of these tabs here. So on click, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have a function, not an arrow function, and then we're going to select the all A, I guess. We're going to make sure all the tabs don't have the active class, so we remove that. And then we're going to set the module, which isn't created yet, to whatever module was selected, and remember that the module is identified by the ID. Another thing with IDs is automod. So when we type the name, when we type in ID name in the console, basically this is basically stored. So automod.remove, what would that do? Well, remove deletes a node. It's called in document object model, so that's just going to remove that. That's all it does, basically. So this dot attribute, we're going to get the ID attribute, which is automod in if we click that. Cool. Now we're going to make a function called setModule, and then we're going to pass in the name. So module.module.hide. We're going to hide. Basically, we're going to hide the module which we haven't created yet. So in the PUG files we created, basically the general economy, these ones here, this will hide the content within that, so we don't have to worry about that for now. So, or yet. So we're going to get a dynamic ID. It's going to be called name. It's going to have name and then module at the end of the ID. And then we're going to show that. So we're going to show the selected ID, hide all other modules, and only show one. And then with name, we're just going to select name here. And that will be the tab. We're going to set the active class. We're going to add the active class on the tab that was selected. So set module. We're going to automatically set the module to the module or overview. Now we're just going to set the module to overview by default. So now in the modules that we created, we're going to go in overview. We're going to spice that up a bit, you could say. So this is quite a hefty file actually. So let's speedrun this. This is basically a tabs. We'll get into that, what that means in a minute. So this is basically stats, sorry. I don't know why I said tabs. So form group. And then margin top 5. We're going to have row text and then dot text center. So everything in all the text will be centered. So we're going to have column 3. Now, what this will do, this is called emmet, by the way. What you can do in VS Code is you can type a times symbol in JavaScript. And then let's say we want 4 stats, or 4 cards, 4 columns more specifically. So we just press tab, and there we go. 4 cursors, 4 columns, or 1 cursor, however many. So now border, we're going to have a rounded border. Margin 3, padding 3, P uppercase, and then we're gonna just IFAS FA user ninja. Now this is supposed to represent the owner. That's what I thought when I was making it. So margin left 1, strong, owner. So this is gonna show who the owner is in the server. No margin, guild, dot owner, dot user, dot tag. So we're just going to show the user tag, and now we're just going to repeat this everywhere, because we're going to copy it like that for now. So we're on the overview tab by default, remember that. Also in H4 here, sidebar. Let's go. So, what we want to do with the H4 here is we want to make it cursor pointer. Hold on. Sidebar extension. Be more specific, I guess. There we go. And then move that up there. There we go. So now it just says adamjr owner loads of times. So we're gonna fix that. Overview.pug. So we're gonna have members here. Members. And here we're gonna have user alt. Then guild.member count, that will work. Get the number of members in the server. Roles. We're going to have fa at to represent the roles. Roles.cache. .size. And then finally we're going to have hashtag here to represent the channels in the server. Guild.channels.cache.size. There we go. And it shows us stats basically. Pretty cool. Now, when we click this, nothing else happens because, well, we'll find out soon. But we're going to set a boilerplate for each of these, like a template, so we can get into posting data to the server and updating our guild config. So we're going to have a section called, with an ID called general module, but this is the music module. So, and then we're going to have .module on the end, and then .container. px5, cool. And then we're just going to have a jumbotron underneath. BG transparent. Padding bottom 0. H1 display 3. Text center. And then general. Form group, and then underneath that, I guess, form group, margin top 5. I'm just gonna have a row here, but that's pretty much it. What we're gonna have for each of these. General, just rename the ID for each of them. And in music, we're going to call the title music. And do these for each of them. Economy. Very cool. Auto mod. There we go, auto mod. And now everything is showing. Interesting. Wow, why is everything showing? Because we haven't imported our guild.js, so let's do that. In show.pug, we're going to import it. After sidebar, we're going to write guild.js. There we go, done. So now when we click on these tabs, we get the tabs actually work. So another thing is, when we go on a server and we type the wrong ID in, this happens. Cannot read property icon of undefined. Why is that? Well, it's rendering this page and it's assuming a server exists with that ID. It does not. So we're going to go and fix that. So middleware, what do? We want to validate whether the guild exists, and it doesn't. So module.exports dot validate guild. Well, that's going to be called after update guilds. So rec res next. So we're going to have try, or maybe we just do this with similar to user. We're going to return this instead. Let's have return on that. Makes more sense to return next. Let's do that. So res.locals.guilds. Now this is an array. So if includes or sum. If sum, what does that mean? If sum. If any guild matches this condition, it's predicate condition. So g.id. So discord.js guild. rec.params.id. We assume that there is a parameter ID in the URL or route. And we're just going to have like guild here or something. Const guild equals boom. Now, what can we do about that? Let's add parentheses there. So, why are we doing this? In routes. Dashboard routes. In here, we're going to type validate guild. Why are we not typing update guilds? Because in server, if we remember, this is already happening, and we don't want to validate guild everywhere because dashboard doesn't know what guild it's referring to. There we go. Okay, what we can do is we can get rid of this, because in middleware, what we are going to do is store the res.locals.guild, and that will sort our problems out. Now, this middleware is responsible for two things. We don't want to redirect to 401. We want to redirect to 404 because it doesn't know what that is. This planet's heavily guarded. So let's refresh and certify that. Oh, yes. So if the guild does not exist, redirect to hold on. We're typing some here. Let's type find instead, and that will get the guild. Sum is a boolean. It returns a boolean expression instead of the actual guild. Connect to the wrong one, we get 404. Cool. Problem solved. One more thing, let's add overview as an ID to the h4 tag in show.pug, so that when we click it, it goes back to the overview page. So in the next videos, we'll add basic form inputs, channel and role drop-downs, etc. And we'll actually allow the user or the guild owner to change their guild config once and for all, which is the function, the main purpose of the dashboard. See you there.